The dark side of science, the most notorious scientific experiments in history. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Science Telly, the channel where we explore the fascinating facts behind our favorite holidays, traditions, and customs. Today, we're going to take a look at the dark side of science, and reveal some of the most notorious scientific experiments in history. These are the experiments that have unnerved us, disgusted us, and absolutely terrified us. These are the experiments that have violated ethical and moral principles, and sometimes even human rights. These are the experiments that have shown us how far some scientists are willing to go in the name of science. Let's find out. 1. Project MK-Ultra. Project MK-Ultra was a secret CIA program that aimed to develop mind control techniques and chemical weapons during the Cold War. The program started in the 1950s and lasted until 1966, although some records suggest that it continued even later. Under MK-Ultra, often unwilling subjects were given drugs, especially hallucinogens like LSD, without their consent or knowledge. They were also subjected to sleep and sensory deprivation, hypnosis, sexual abuse, and other forms of psychological torture. Some of the experiments resulted in death or permanent damage. The supposed goal of the project was to create mind-controlling drugs to combat the Soviets, or to extract information from enemy agents. 2. Weaponizing the plague. The plague is one of the deadliest diseases in history, killing millions of people in several outbreaks throughout history. The most devastating one was the Black Death, which wiped out about half of Europe's population in the 14th century. In the late 1980s, the Soviet Union's biological warfare research program figured out how to use the plague as a weapon, to be launched at enemies in missile warheads. They genetically modified the plague bacteria to make them more resistant to antibiotics and vaccines. They also produced hundreds of tons of anthrax and smallpox, two other deadly diseases that could be used as bioweapons. 3. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study was a notorious medical experiment conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service from 1932 to 1972. The study involved 600 African American men from rural Alabama, 399 of whom had syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease that can cause serious complications if left untreated. The researchers told the men that they were being treated for bad blood, but in fact they were not given any treatment at all, even after penicillin became widely available as a cure for syphilis in the 1940s. The researchers wanted to observe the natural course of the disease and its effects on the body and mind. The study was exposed by a whistleblower in 1972, and sparked public outrage and lawsuits. Many of the men died from syphilis or related causes, and many infected their wives and children. 4. The Stanford Prison Experiment. The Stanford Prison Experiment was a psychological experiment conducted by Philip Zimbardo at Stanford University in 1971. The experiment involved 24 male college students who were randomly assigned to play either prisoners or guards in a mock prison set up in the basement of a campus building. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks, but it was terminated after 6 days due to the extreme behavior of both groups. The guards became abusive and authoritarian, while the prisoners became submissive and depressed. Some of them even developed psychological distress and had to be removed from the experiment. The experiment showed how social roles and situations can influence human behavior and personality. 5. The CIA's LSD studies. The CIA's LSD studies were part of Project MK-Ultra, but they deserve a separate mention because of their bizarre and tragic outcomes. LSD is a powerful psychedelic drug that can alter one's perception, mood, and cognition. The CIA was interested in using LSD as a mind control agent or a truth serum, and conducted various experiments on unsuspecting subjects, including CIA agents themselves, military personnel, prisoners, mental patients, prostitutes, and civilians. One of the most infamous cases involved Frank Olson, a CIA scientist who was secretly dosed with LSD by his colleagues in 1953. 9 days later, he fell or jumped from a hotel window in New York City and died. His death was ruled a suicide, but his family suspected foul play and sued the CIA for wrongful death. These are just some of the most notorious scientific experiments in history. but there are many more examples of unethical and immoral research that have been done or are still being done in the name of science. These experiments remind us that science is not always good or noble, but can also be corrupted or misused by human greed, curiosity, or ambition. They also remind us that we need to have strict ethical guidelines and regulations for scientific research, and that we need to be vigilant and critical of the sources and methods of scientific knowledge. Science is a powerful tool, but it can also be a dangerous weapon. Thank you for watching this episode of Science Telly. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more interesting facts and stories. And don't forget to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Stay safe and stay curious.